That was so
Hey,
funny.
everybody, welcome. Yay, here we are. Welcome to our live Metaphysical Phat. I'm Kirsten, and this
And
is
I'm
Sam.
Sam, and yeah. You see, we do it every week. It's just a joke. It's all planned and purpose, because it's the divine comedy of life. Anyway,
That's right.
so today
We always mess up the intro. That's who we are. Let's go.
Exactly, we're just rolling with it. It's the Fuck It podcast. No, it's kidding me. Right, yeah, you're on the Metaphysical Phat. You've not lost your marbles. So today we're joined by the lovely Soorena and Sannah, and they are from the In Connection podcast. We'll put all the links in the description when we've finished. Sannah, you are a art teacher, that's right, isn't it? And a teacher of teachers.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's leading the way in education, which is really, really exciting. Soorena, you facilitate psilocybin experiences and do look with healing and things like that, don't you?
Yeah,
So
correct.
we're going to kind of dig into that. So yeah, I don't know if you guys just want to start out. Soorena, if you want to go first, talk a bit about what you do, and then we can pass it over to Sannah just to get an idea of who you are, what you do, and where we can find you and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I facilitate psilocybin experiences for people. I see March the 4th Productions says hi from Edmonton in Canada.
Hi.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, I'm originally from Canada. I grew up there in Toronto, so we have a fellow Canadian among us. Yeah, so for people who are interested in having psilocybin experiences, if people don't know it by that name, magic mushrooms is very common in Netherlands. They call it magic truffles. And I'm like an adult babysitter. So people, when they take mushrooms, they kind of enter a state of consciousness that's very similar to what babies or toddlers experience, which is amazing because, as we know, like kids are very quick to learn and unlearn things. And that's very, very useful when we want to transform or rewire the mind. So I am there kind of as like a spiritual or emotional insurance policy, making sure that the trips people have are set in a grounded and safe direction, and people are having it's not always pleasant because sometimes it can be very challenging, but it's always safe and beneficial. So that's what I aim for, and I help with like the preparation before and the integration after. So that's pretty good summary in a nutshell, actually. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, we'll come back to that, but Sannah, do you want to tell us a bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I teach at art school, and I don't teach there in a art subject. I am doing the theory of teaching. And besides that, I'm an entrepreneur, so I work for myself and I visit schools, partly with the help of another organization who like gets the assignments going, and we share materials, but also on my own. And I'm trying to actually incorporate more of the arts into my training. So that's a thing I'm like working on right now and developing and trying things out. And recently there's also like the education I do is more focused on the high schools and higher education. But now I'm also a substitute teacher for students who want to be a primary education teacher. So that's fun because there I do arts. So they need to develop their own art skills to create classes for kids. So that's a new thing and it's super fun. So it's just temporary, but I'm super enjoying it.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could do more of that, though. That's interesting how it came about.
Yes.
So as you said, it's quite new, but it's temporary. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'll see. I'll send. I already sent in my resume to the contact I have there at the school to see if there's more for me. So maybe not, but I'll find my way. It's also super nice to be entrepreneur and connect with people and then see what it leads to and just let it roll and flow. So that's also a fun part of like being like open to different kinds of assignments. So yeah, we'll see.
That's also, it's good as well because you're not kind of controlled by the man,
Right.
It's kind of, I mean, you're still in the system, but you're not. You're like dipping your toe in rather than being like, actually chained at the neck. And I'm assuming you work on your own as well, Soorena. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. I attempted to work at different places, but I actually could not. So I was like, I think I have to do this on my own. So that's where we're at.
I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? Touching on that kind of working piece, like with Kirsten's a yoga instructor, aren't you, Kirsten? So she goes off and she teaches yoga at places, obviously, but ultimately she's her own boss. And I think, like, I was a nurse, I left the system, and I'm now thinking about, next steps. And I think this is really great because a lot of us kind of on this path where we're on this, I'm going to say, awakening journey. We want more sovereignty and more freedom to kind of do what we want to do. So it's lovely to talk to people that are actually doing that in real life and proving you can do it and make a living. So it's a toe in each world, isn't it, really? Yeah.
That's
and have you felt like that?
A good point.
Yeah. Go on, Kirsty, sorry.
I was just going to say, do you two have any advice you might give people who want to step onto that path and don't really know where to start or how to make it work?
I think for me, I was in the system and I quit my job 2 years ago. And it was a leap of faith, actually. And I was not happy in the job I had for a little while, for some years. And it helped that other people like you were super supportive of it. And you need to sort of see your own worth and then see what you already have, and then be open to try to put that forth in a way that other people can connect with it. So I think that's what I did. Like the little seed of belief I had in myself, I held on to that and then put steps forward into the right direction. And it was actually very scary. So it's and sometimes it still is to like, is it enough? Am I doing enough? Is it quality? And like a lot of things are new. So the last 2 years, everything I developed or did was like new. So that keeps being scary, but I'm getting used to the scariness and getting more into the enthusiastic vibes about it. So you'll grow into it, I think. But start with believing in that you have something and that people love to connect with it, because that's often the case if you are connected to that thing that is awesome about yourself. So yeah.
And I'll add to that, to her story, because I think it's relevant to mention that her leap of faith was being taken on a very well established runway. So she had like built up a network of people who knew her in that profession, in that field, with that skill set for like 18 years. So that's a relevant part. So it's not like she went from nothing to a sudden leap of faith and then happened to grasp things. It was like there was a network of people who knew her and who would be like, oh yeah, Sannah, we would love to have you working this gig here, working that gig there. So that's an important part of the story.
But like the willingness and the readiness to pivot, to take
that's the part she's talking about. So because again, 18 years of being in a well-established job where always one specific person tells you this is what you're doing, that did require the leap of faith emotionally to be like, okay, I think I'm gonna open myself up to a bit of unknown.
And also the that I knew I had built up knowledge. So the knowledge base I have, I knew that would be interesting for other people, so I could share from that.
Yeah. I mean, that I'm glad you brought that into it, because a lot of people kind of get stuck in the 9 to 5, don't they? And they're in this like kind of rat-based job, kind of feeling suffocated creatively. And there's a few things I just want to touch on there. So the first thing was kind of, it is a leap of faith because you're leaving the known. And they kind of say, if you're scared of something, do it, because the fear is like the ego going, we're not going to do this, don't do it. And it's the fear, isn't it? And it's the fear that holds us back. But then also, like you were saying, that there was a pragmatic base as well. You didn't just go, going to leave the system, I'm going to just see what happens tomorrow. Because we've all got bills to pay, haven't we? We've got families to support, we've got partners, we've got all sorts of stuff going on. So it isn't, I mean, you can do it if you want to do it and you're brave enough to do it and you think you've got the gumption to sort it out. But I think the hardest thing is because you're responsible for your day-to-day running, aren't you? You're responsible for providing your own content. Like you were saying, you're responsible for kind of thinking about ways to engage with people and what you're going to do, and that's all new. But also because it's new, it makes you think in new ways and it kind of ignites you creatively. So when you're kind of stuck in the system, what I found is it's the rigidity of the boxes that they put you in, because any structure by definition, you know, has to be stable and contained, you know, like, so I worked for the NHS for years. And the NHS is very rigid, which it has to be. It's you know, healthcare system, they're open to litigation, they have to do things, I mean, too much so they, you know, red boxes, box ticking exercises, and you've got no scope to move out. So even like in healthcare, innovation comes like from the ground workers, the hands-on, because you're seeing what's happening in real time and you're like, oh, why don't we do this, or this would be great, or you know, ideas for research, or you know, that kind of thing. And you're really stifled because it's all contained within these compartmentalized boxes, for instance. Whereas when you step out of that, I'm assuming you can start to think bigger in terms of what you want to do to feed your soul. Is that right?
Yeah. The stepping out of a box, it's literally that, I think. You need to create your own set of boundaries and feel out what the space is that you have then, and create it yourself, which is a very awesome creative act. So it is what you said, like it ignites a new kind of creativity. And it's nice to think of it like that, I guess, because then you can tap into that part of yourself that likes to build and make. I like that.
It's a lack of restriction. I mean, there's always going to be some restriction, but the hardest thing I think for people doing anything like that is you're ultimately responsible for your own wages and your own income, though, and what you do, because it's all part of the journey of sovereignty, isn't it? I know a lot of spiritual teachers and people talk about sovereignty and how you can be the leader in your own life and it's personal responsibility. But that's really scary, because if anything goes wrong, you're kind of in a position where you've got to fix it. So it can kind of lead to a bit of pressure, I would imagine, sometimes as well.
Yeah, I was just going to speak to that. The balancing act you have to do with what things you say yes to, and because it's up to you, since you don't have a single employer, you can actually put more things on your schedule than you're capable of, or it might really stretch you. And those are real things, and that you need to, I think, get experience so that you learn what it feels like in your nervous system, to know that also pressure is also okay. But there is the thing you want to look for is like, hey, can you do a quality job with the things you take on? And like anything, there is a learning curve.
Coming weeks I have scheduled too much, so I'm sort of looking how to prepare everything right. But
but like you said, you get used to it as you go, don't you? That's the thing. But like anything, it evolves, I suppose, and what you can do evolves, because you start with like a base level of skills, like you've got all the basic skills that you need, but then it's like almost like a new set of skills that you're developing, isn't it? You know, as you go. And I mean, just going back to like the self-employed thing with you, Soorena, and like the mushroom experiences, because that's something that really, really interests me. So when I've had my experiences, I mean, I've had people on the other end of the phone, Kirsten, but I've not really had anybody with me. So, I mean, what are your tips for people undergoing this kind of exploration into, we'll call it mushroom land, really, into psychedelics and entheogens?
Yeah, for sure. I would say if you have no experience, start with microdosing. So that's um, uh, if you're working with dried mushrooms, like 0.1 grams of dried mushrooms is a good starting point. It's enough to get your like the tip of your feet wet, in a sense, and you get to see what the effects directionally are. So you're gonna probably experience a little bit more sensitivity to your own emotions, and a little bit more sensitivity to your own thoughts. And that is going to be very lovely for learning what that feels like and how to navigate it well. Because when you take more, you're obviously going to get a lot more sensitive to your own feelings and thoughts, and you're going to be a lot more in the, the magical, eternal, present moment that we often read about in different spiritual traditions. You get to really experience that, and it can be a lot. Like there's a reason why we are not in the present, and that's why people need to tell us from like the different spiritual traditions to come to the present. It's like, do we ever question why we're not here? It's like the answer is that here is a lot, and it can feel like a lot. And when you're feeling a lot, navigating that well, navigating it skillfully so that things compound constructively as opposed to compounding destructively. That's the difference between an upward spiral and a downward spiral. The more you have, the more quickly you can go up or down. Skill is what makes the difference in direction. So the more you learn what skills are involved, the more you can practice that. So I would say start with, small dosages. And then if you feel like you're using that well, maybe try more. But if you feel like, oh, that's a bit much, maybe don't increase the dosage. That would be a general starting tips that I would offer to whoever is curious to explore.
I mean, I wish I'd have started with 0.1.
Sounds wise now, right?
Yeah, I didn't go full bore and have like 5 grams or anything, but not that I probably ever would have 5 grams unless I really was like wanting to blow my brains open, really. But yeah, I find like 2 is a good amount for me.
So Samantha, I was looking through my old emails and screenshots from a couple of years ago, and I saw this chart that I had made of the progression of dosages that at some point I was planning for myself.
Oh, yes.
The highest I had gone was 22.5 grams. That's the face I was looking for. There we go. You got it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, indeed.
22 grams. What's that even? I mean, I'm not sure.
But yes.
Was this before you'd had any?
No, what? No. Like I was very, very, very experienced, and I was. I would never do that as a first. That's yeah.
Not wise.
That would
That's not wise.
No, I was very.
Have you taken 22 grams?
Yeah. So that was the highest I've had. 22.5 grams was the highest I had.
I need to hear about this. Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, yeah.
Yes,
I'm actually curious.
Yeah.
Which one of the stories?
Yeah. So the way I got there was that I had made this chart for myself. My goal was to eventually get to 42 grams, and 42 just for the fun of it. Because from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 42 is the answer to the life, universe, and everything. I
think that's what it meant. 42 grams of mushrooms.
Yes, exactly. But that was just purely for the humor. What I was doing is I started with I think somewhere around 5-6 grams, and then every season, so every 3 months or so, I would have a new trip. Marty's saying that's not hero's dose, that's God level. Yeah, it's like the beginning of. Yeah, they call it I think shamanic dose. There's the heroic dose, and then somewhere in that range it goes to the shamanic dose plus. But I was increasing it by 3.5 grams ish every 3 months to give myself experience, and because I intended to develop my skill set not just as an explorer but as a facilitator.
Yeah.
So my logic was whatever anyone. If I facilitate for 1,000 people, I should already know every hallway that they can go down. That was my thinking, and so that meant that whatever hallway is within me, I should really stress test it before I attempt to be like a supportive pillar for anyone else.
Yeah.
So that trip, I remember it. I refer to it in my mind as the architect trip.
Oh, that one.
Yes, that one. So
Okay.
the what I remember at so I was facilitating it from myself, and I was alone in my apartment, and I was
You were alone when you took 22.5 grams of mushrooms.
yeah, yeah.
And would you advise that?
I mean, if you are someone like me, yes. Would I advise it for other people? No. But also, mind you, the path I set that this is like years and years,
Build
like
up.
yeah, like a decade plus of preparation. So like if someone does a decade plus of preparation, you probably have a pretty good idea as to what you're walking into.
Yes.
But if you're starting out, like I don't know, if you want a one-way trip to the asylum, do that if it's your first time. But that would be so like don't do that for if you want a good life. And,
Please don't do that at home. Please don't.
Yeah.
We are not advising that.
Yes, I'm not advising this. I'm more sharing this because it's kind of like the internal equivalent of climbing like a Mount Everest. It's like, oh, do you advise people climb Mount Everest? I'm like, you should try and then see. Like, there's a lot of people who die climbing Mount Everest. So like, if you were to do the thing I'm saying without the preparation involved, you probably literally lose your mind and not get it back.
Yeah.
This is very, very literally. So
Because you've just not got the skills, have you? That's the thing. And I just quickly interjecting that, and you make a very good point. Because even though I wanted to do mushrooms for years, and I think there's a spirit behind the plan, and it comes to you when you're ready. And I wasn't ready. I've done a lot of internal work, a lot of emotional work. Do you know what I mean? I've dug in the depths of my psyche. I've learned how to balance and come up from my emotions. Loads of shadow work, and even I have had very challenging experiences. You know.
Oh yeah.
So I can imagine. I accidentally took. I'm laughing. I accidentally took about 4.5 grams back. It was a bit silly, really. I wasn't prepared, and I was like, "Holy shit, we're going that." And I managed it. I was all right, but it's the preparation, isn't it? If you don't know what you're going into, I think it can really blindside you. But anyway, go on, Soorena. Cut you off then.
No, for sure, and that's a very good point. 4.5 grams is a high dose. So it's not a small amount at all by any means. And also there's a thing that like no matter how prepared you are, no matter how aware you are of what's coming, you're not aware of what's coming. That's the like the whole point behind the saying like expect the unexpected is that no matter how much you expect it, it's still unexpected. So I was lying down on the floor at some point, looking up at the ceiling, and then the ceiling kind of like in my visual experience kind of like opened up in a way where there was this what felt like this spiral, but in the shape of like the cosmos or like the galaxy or like universe. It had that feeling to it, and it felt like, oh yeah, it's the being that when it speaks, universes get made, because that creation is its language. So it speaks a sentence, and its sentence spans what we think of as the lifetime of the universe. So it's like it's thinking a single thought. It's just a very infinitely rich thought. And I was like, oh yeah, the architect. That was what it felt like for me. It was like, nice to meet you. And then at the same time, in the hallway, because my apartment had like a very thin door, and it was like connected to a larger hotel space. Someone flushed the toilet in the hallway, and then I laughed so hard because I was like, wow, I'm meeting the architect of the cosmos, and someone just flushes the toilet. And like the juxtaposition of the most like, yeah, exactly. The most, what do we call it? Like
the cosmic toilet, man.
Yeah. The most like literally the most spiritual thing I could possibly ever think of. And then the most grounded earthly human experience of like using a toilet, them getting juxtaposed at the same time, it kind of coined this concept within me of I think of it as practical love. And that's become like a very central philosophy for me, that the spirituality basically connects you with love, but you need it to be grounded for it to be part of the human experience, which is the practical part. And then it's like the coming together of the two is sort of like the golden, it's the golden spiral. It's the what do we call it? The holy grail. It's the holy grail of spiritual development. Like the sustained practical love is the thing that we're, in a sense, we're all after, whether we're aware of it or not. That's I think of that as like the golden, like the standard to aim for, to strive for. So that was my 22.5 grams.
I mean, I'm sure there was a lot more to that. I mean, I have issues remembering everything because I'm probably still getting used to it all. I've only been doing it about 3.5 months, maybe. I'm having a bit of a break because I kind of went a bit hard and heavy, and I did it like 4 weekends in a row, which was a bit much. And then I started a shamanic training course, so that my life's in the toilet right now.
My goodness.
I'm laughing about it because I've got a really good sense of humor, and that's what gurus do, you know. I'm just following the guru. No, it was I've melted my brain. I've had the most profound healing experiences though, but the problem is you do the healing and then the rest of your life has to catch up, and that's the grounding in as well. That's another aspect of it, isn't it?
Yes.
And I really love what you were saying about that. It was just a really rich, long cosmic thought. That was just brilliant. I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. And it really did. But going back to the grounding, like the thing. So I started doing a course in miracles. I don't know if you're aware of or you've heard of that.
I'm familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of been in the periphery for a while. And this all came about kind of midway when I was doing the mushrooms, because obviously everything happens for a reason. It's all interconnected. And it started to bring in new ways of thinking for me. And I essentially had this really like intense experience after a mushroom trip. A couple of days later, once I'd kind of done a bit of integration, it was almost like a bubble had popped. So I'd created this energetic container and I'd gone, because I went in with 2 of my friends, and we'd all kind of had this experience where we'd kind of merged our consciousness, and there was a lot of love there. And then the bubble popped and in poured all this information that had just been kind of sitting on the surface of my consciousness. And it was like the Course in Miracles, or what it actually was, but not from a religious point of view, from a universal law kind of point of view, streamed into me when I was taking my children to school. And it was a bit mind-bending, I'm not going to lie. And I dropped them off, and as I was coming home, I was still in Kirsten. I was like nearly at home, and I just started manically laughing. And I realised that everything is just a massive cosmic joke. I was just like, everything's made of love. It doesn't matter. I was just like, it was so funny. I couldn't even, like, if anybody had seen me in the car, I was like just laughing hysterically. I got home and I got all the washing up on the side and stuff I needed to do, and all the little, the minutiae of daily life that we get so caught up in. And I was just like, it's all love. It doesn't matter. Even the washing up is love. But it's not. It's important, but it isn't important. And I don't even have the words to fully like articulate what happened. But it was kind of like everything came into balance. And I realised that really we just take things far too seriously. I mean, life is serious and we do need to give it our attention. But then the other thing that happened after that was I realised, like, we're all just love in motion. Everything is love in motion. It's just like a giant cosmic orgasm, which I kind of understood anyway, but I understood it on a deeper level. And it's like, how can you ground in the love though? Or, like you were saying, how do we ground in the spiritual practices? How do we do it on a day-to-day level? And I've had quite a few challenging issues with, like, my children, just for an example to people listening at home. Very, very strenuous issues of relationship, within my household that I'm having to work through. And it's like, how do I take all the principles and all the knowledge and all the information that I've learned and practically apply it? Because without doing that, what's the point in even knowing it, And that's kind of the whole point of this life, I think. It's like an obstacle course. It's like a big game, How can we be more like closer to love, to wholeness? How can we ground that in? And how can we infuse that into everything and every relationship and, every activity that we do? Because, I mean, that's the whole purpose, isn't it, really?
It is. And, I think that brings
Sorry.
it back to what Soorena said about sustained practical love. I love the way you put that, because that really is, that just seems to really tie that in nicely. But again, how do you implement that sustained practical love?
Is that a literal question?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like whatever the answer is gonna need to include kind of like a yin and a yang. So that's like a you need a way of expressing love practically, but then you also need to have a loving way to reflect on when you are not loving.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
the process of
Yes.
not being loving needs to be within your practice. Like, how do you have a loving way of dealing with that? So in relationships, that comes up all the time. So like sometimes you're going to have a really good flow where you're going to have an easy time practicing being loving. It's like, great. Okay, great. That part you got down. Awesome. Appreciate it. Acknowledge it. Maybe take a look at like what's working in those times so you can gather like practical wisdom of like, oh yeah, remember those times we sleep well, we have an easier time being good with each other. It's like, well, that's probably a good idea. If we can like try to prioritize, get good sleep.
Yeah.
And then in there's like more minutiae of like, wait, those times I breathe more and I listen to her more, I have a better time understanding her. It's like, okay, that's probably a handy. So like doing things like that. So like when things are working, pay attention to why is it working. A lot of times people, myself included, we shut off our critical thinking skills until things are not working. And then we're like, why isn't it working? Yeah. Right. And it's like, well, then it's probably not the time to actually ask why. Why? It's like, why do we all turn into Sherlock Holmes when things are going wrong? Why not turn into Sherlock Holmes when things are going right? Then you get really useful wisdom during those times. So that's the, one side of it. When things are not going well, my goodness.
My goodness.
Yeah. Very, very challenging, first of all. It's genuinely very challenging. And the goal isn't, when things are not going well, the goal isn't to try to make them go well. And this sounds kind of counterintuitive, but the goal is to get to an okay point, which is different from things going well. So it's like, if you're sort of in a downward spiral, the goal isn't to get to an up. The goal is to just slow down the negativity. It's like, stop investing everything you've got into going negative. Invest 80% of what you've got into going negative. Sometimes that's the best you can do. And you kind of know what I mean by that? It's very counterintuitive, but very important.
So is it kind of that, so you're not putting pressure on yourself basically to go, oh, I'm in this horrible space, and you're not going to go from feeling really down to like dancing around the field with bunnies and saying life's great. It's being realistic, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
That's the thing.
So,
yeah.
Exactly. So if you've been like a bus that's been driving off a cliff in a part of your life, chances are you can't suddenly make the bus go in reverse direction right away. You kind of have to like slow down, but the direction is still off in the beginning. But you're just investing less. So if you've been actively practicing some form of self-hatred, you're probably going to continue doing that for some time because momentum is a real thing. So like that's it's kind of like practicing being loving. So this is the sustained part. You're practicing being loving to the part of yourself that actually has been hating yourself. So it's like, all right, I'm going to now keep hating myself, but now I'm going to do it consciously. It's a really counterintuitive thing, but really necessary to actually transform things. And it applies in relationships big time. But the more you do that, it's like, instead of doing like a 180, it ends up being like a 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. And then that's how you turn things around.
Do you feel it's more like being a witness? Like, because we talk about presence, don't we? And it being very uncomfortable, because it is, basically. But it's maybe being more present with where we are and saying, I'm in this downward spiral, but why am I in this downward spiral? And maybe looking at the reasons allows us acceptance, because sometimes we're not accepting why we're in the positions that we're in. And rather than looking at it from a point of like you were saying, the self-hatred even as a practice, I thought that was good, because we are literally when you're in that, it's a practice. You're doing it every day. You're showing up every day with commitment, going, oh, I'm rubbish, oh, I can't do this, or I can't do that. And I loved how you framed that, because what about when you recognize that and you recognize the things that you're doing? So if you get up every morning and go, today's going to be shit, it's practice. You're literally speaking into existence what your day is going to be like. You're setting up your expectations. So rather than going, oh, my day's going to be shit, you go, do you know what? Today might be different. You don't even have to say today's going to be great. Today might be different. And it's just opening up that bandwidth that maybe something brilliant's going to come in, you know? But you're not overstretching yourself with these unrealistic expectations that you're going to win the lottery or, you know, whatever, insert ridiculous thing. But, you know, it's like you were saying, baby steps, which I really like.
Yeah, 100%. You have to work with whatever you perceive reality to be. So no matter like how negative your perspective is, even the most negative perspective is a spectrum, and one end of that spectrum is going to be the most negative, one end of it is going to be lesser negative. So it's like aim for the lesser negative even when you're in the negative, and then bit by bit you're at a new point with a new spectrum, and then it's like you keep shifting from there and there.
Yeah. And then when you don't beat yourself up, you're not just putting fuel on the fire, because that's what we're doing really, isn't it? Because we have all these expectations, and it's like we're in this really difficult position. But then we're being told by people, oh, you're really negative. And that it's just another stick to beat yourself up with, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly can be. Accepting it. So that's kind of what I mean, that like you're aiming for okay when you're in the not love space. Your aim is not positive. Your aim is to go for okay. And okay is kind of like a neutral space in between negative and positive. And then from there you can aim for positive, but like you really do need to hit the okayness first. That is real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really a normal person. I'm a Kirsten, because I kind of
no.
like, for instance, yesterday I'd had a really challenging 24 hours, and I just came home about 3 o'clock, and I was like, but actual like suicidal ideology like crept in. I didn't believe it, but it was like, why are you even here? You're just a waste of space. But this was like the thoughts that were just going, they weren't me, I knew that. And I was just like, no, we're not doing that. And I sat with it for a bit, and then I watched some funny videos. I actually watched a video about can't even remember, but it was ridiculous. Oh, it was a woman talking about terrible cooking. And I just absolutely like dissolved into fits of giggles, and it just shifted me. And then I was like, talked about it a bit, got it moving a bit more, because it's all energy, isn't it? When you see your emotions and thoughts as like energy, because you can start to move it, so you don't become attached to it in the same way. So it is a kind of dissociation, I suppose, but you're not. If you're like, this situation is so bad, my daughter hates me, because she doesn't at the moment, but anyway, that's a different story. Obviously parents' worst nightmare, teenagers, we all have to walk through it. And it's saying, do you know what, that's the situation that I'm experiencing, and I've got emotions around it, but I'm not my emotions. And if you can give yourself a bit of space, it's like a buffer zone, and say, well, that emotion's an energy. It's an energy of self-loathing, or it's an energy of whatever, bad parenting, or whatever you want to call it. It helps you to detach from it, so you don't take it quite as personally, and then you can move it through you, maybe. I mean, have you got any kind of experience with that, both of you?
Well, I thought we could like get into the first, like not the first, like our recent fight that like was actually an example of how things were very, very difficult. And then we navigated it good enough, I think.
Good enough to eventually get to a constructive place without needing to put anything under the rug. So, yeah.
But it was the most intense fight we have had in like our
ever.
Ever.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. It was like 2 days ago, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was intense.
In what way would you like to get into it?
Well, I thought it's an example of how, because it is about how you do conflicts, and
Mhm.
it's the same with, like, you sometimes are in conflict with yourself, and sometimes it's more you're in conflict with yourself and the other, um, and how do you navigate that? It's like such a, like, it's such a clusterfuck, eh? It's so complicated and so entangled, and I thought, well, it's the most honest thing to actually also talk about that right now, because it's such a recent event in our relationship, in our
Yes.
dynamic right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought it's not fun to bring things up like that, but I think it's awesome if other people can learn, or if we can learn real time.
Yeah, for sure.
From this thing.
Yeah, definitely. And
You don't have to go into specifics because it does sound like it's quite a raw, emotional, raw issue. But if you go from like the point of where you realise there's an issue and how you kind of resolved it, but like you were saying with the honesty, that's sometimes the hardest thing, because to be really honest with another person, I think you open yourself up like vulnerably to rejection, and that's the biggest thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to?
No, I can I can give some context about what the context is. That we just moved, so we're in our new house, and it's amazing and awesome, and it's like full of stuff, like boxes and things, not like having a home yet in our new home. So it's and I know that for me, I need structure in my life, and otherwise things go like bad. So I have had a few moments, like we're navigating it well, but I have had a few moments that like I was super late to bring my daughter to school, because like everything went wrong in the morning, because there was like a whole obstacle course before I could get to the key, and like we forgot our bag and like everything, because like I was so out of structure that I couldn't take the right steps to get everything in the right order, in time, in the right place. So yeah, that was challenging, and I tried to move things forward in the house in a way that we can find things again and things get their homes. So at some point I was looking at Soorena and asking a question, and I said, what did I said? Literally, I said,
why don't you ever do anything in the house, was the line. And the timing of this beautiful line was just as our friend who was coming over for the evening had already rang the doorbell. I'm on my way to open the door, and we are already having like this, like kind of on the more vulnerable bit of time. And then to me, it felt like a drive-by of like throwing in this line of, why don't you ever do anything around the house? And if there was like like an autism spectrum, I'm definitely somewhere all over that spectrum. So I take words extremely literally, and I was like, why don't I ever do anything? It's like, that's a double absolute. And it's like,
it was the ever, and then Sannah's like, feminine, I'm in this really raw emotional place and I just need to let the steam valve out. I don't really mean that specifically, I've said it.
yes.
But to you, it's hit you like a barb.
Yeah, and it's like, as our friend is coming, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to open this door, and I'm still going to explore it in real time.
With our friend present, and the kids like going around.
Yeah,
and,
like
yeah.
it's yeah, for me, I have learned through experience that no matter what the social context is, when I align myself with my own truthful experience, as messy as things get, that's the only way where progress happens. because the alternative is that even if I improve things in other social contexts, in that social context where I chose to not be truthful, that one never improves. So I was like, all right, I guess this friend of ours is gonna see this side of us. Yay. So that was and actually she was very helpful. She's actually one of our more very grounded friends, very understanding that like humans have conflict. So she sat with us. She was hungry, and I was like, I hope this is a great rest and digest vibe. And she laughed, and she was like, oh, it's great. And she took me out for a walk because she was like, Soorena, you're clearly angry. Let's go for a walk. I was like, thanks. Yeah, for sure. And she had some very grounded things.
She helped.
She was very helpful.
She helped with homework for
then
for
she
her
went
son.
to hang out with our kids, so she's great in that way.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we still were I was in a very extremely off space. And like, so when I say like, hey, sometimes you find yourself in a very negative place and you're going in a negative direction and you can't change, I am speaking about my own self and my own experience. So like I completely, and I was actually telling Sannah that I get it so much, when you've made a mistake, how hard it is to change directions when you look at, because when you want to change directions, you need to be like, oh, what I did there was a mistake. But if you're wired the way I am, you're going to judge yourself so hard for having made a mistake. And then that acts as a trigger that puts you in this emotional state where you can do nothing but make the same type of mistake over and over and over. So then it becomes like this self-reinforcing loop. And it's the most challenging thing to bit by bit, like get yourself to navigate away from. At some point, I think I was biking back from dropping off my daughter at school, and I was internally literally praying to God for guidance and for like, I was like, please get in my brain right now and help clear this fog because I am so lost. And I was just like tearing up internally because you were talking about Samantha, the suicidal ideation, and you said it as, oh, it's I know it's not me. For me, I'm aware that it is me. And it's just that like the human experience can be so tough sometimes. And it's not just tough, it's like tough and it feels like there's no solution and there never will be in sight. But it's like that's a very momentary experience, but it really feels real in that moment. So that is where I was at. And so like the nature of the conflict also was triggering things that were incredibly deep within me. And then it ended up having this kind of effect because of how we navigated it. I'm sure it could have gone bad, but because of how we navigated it, it ended up being a kind of like very bold invitation for me to be really present in our house in a hands-on way. So I started to actually move into action, and the thing that came up for me as to like, why don't I do more around the house was like, I think I really want you to have the best things in life. Yeah. And I really don't like my craftsmanship skill. I want you to have great things. I don't think I'm capable. I just hate when I make mistakes. So I'd rather not do things. And then, yeah, mind you, I'm like in tears as I'm saying these things. And it was just like, and she was very, very loving on her side. And she was like, you're the best thing. Very cheesy moment. But actually
it was true. Like, I want you there. So if it's not you, then it's not the best.
Yeah. So it, we navigated that in a way that ended up being incredibly constructive. I literally, I don't think it was like more than 48 hours ago, but since then I and we have moved a lot forward in our house simply because I am present.
And you took it in a constructive way. You could also not do that.
We navigated it constructively together.
I think that's good because you've literally moved an energetic book, because there was obviously something there was a resistance that you weren't aware of, and it was under the surface. And as a man, and I mean, I'm not typecasting men and women, but generally men are quite action orientated, and they feel like they need to be physically doing things because that's how they generally show their love. whereas women are softer. And you were talking about like the conflicts. So a woman is, I know it's say soft as in like a negative, but there's softness, aren't they? In a lot of ways, or sometimes it's not softness, but sometimes it's the emotional kind of flow. And what had happened from what I'm giving you a bit of feedback, so because I just can't help myself.
I love it.
So yeah, you'd obviously had a lot of pent up frustration, and I've had this as well. When things in, because I've got ADHD, so like I'll put stuff off, there'll just be stuff all over, and it's like I need order to make my life flow in a smooth and consistent way. And you know, when you've got children, so I don't have a partner, but I have children, and children are probably worse than a partner because they just do whatever the hell they want. There's stuff all over. You've got to constantly go, have you done this? Have you done this? And it really gets on your nerves, doesn't it? So all that had built up, but going back to this external pressure, I think a lot of the times we feel overwhelmed because of societal pressure, and we internalize it. So things like time management, having to get your daughter to school on time, and sometimes we have to just say, do you know what? This morning has been a clusterfuck. I fell over a pan. I couldn't find my pants. Whatever's happened, you know what I mean? I've got 2 different colour socks on. Whatever disaster's going on, and it's just going right. I'm gonna have a minute. I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna be late anyway. I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna center myself. I'm not, because this is where the spiral comes in, isn't it? When you can catch yourself and be present enough to go, I'm losing it. It's just going. Couple of deep breaths, and it really does. It just brings you back, and you're like, right, if the kids are late to school, what's actually going to happen? Is anybody going to die? Is the world going to end? Am I going to lose my children? Is it going to impact me financially? Probably not, no. So it's just putting things into perspective, is it? Because that's the real thing. But then looking at it in the broader context, there was the frustration of the house. Don't forget as well, they normally say there's 2 things that are like really bad for relationships. And I forgot one of them, but one of them was definitely moving house. You know,
Yes.
it is. It's the biggest it's the biggest pressure. One of the biggest pressures I thought, having children and moving house, are the 2 biggest things that can fuck a relationship, because it's so intense and so stressful, basically. And you're having to navigate that together and still have children and still like do your day-to-day stuff. So I think you've done incredibly well, and it just feels like it was a bit of a boiling point, you know, that has come up for you both. Sorry, I'm just I can't help myself. But yeah, so the thing with you, Soorena, I think it really poked the manly wound within you. Obviously the never thing, because you're like, oh shit, but that's just not true. I do things. You know, because you did, and you're like, that's just, and then when somebody says that, because obviously Sannah's just trying to express her frustration in the moment, because it just came out, it bubbles over, which is fine because it's a human emotion. It happens. It's perfectly reasonable, you know. But this is the men are from Mars and women are from Venus. It's the communication skill. She's saying, this is a transient emotion. This is how I'm feeling right now. I'm saying it to get it out. I don't actually properly mean never. I'm just, you know, spitballing and moving it through me. And you're like, she doesn't see me. I do lots of things and I'm really struggling, and, you know, but then I'm not being a proper man. Why aren't I doing this? Oh my God. And then all the things come in and it just becomes a big boiling pot, you know? So I think well done. And thank you for sharing that, because that was really, really vulnerable and raw. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you so much. That was just beautiful. I love seeing how you navigate that. And I think that's really helpful for people, because we don't really have a lot of examples of how to navigate relationships in a constructive and healthy way, do we? I mean, I know I've not had many of those in my life, and it's been really, you know, trying to learn those things. And I really think that was extremely helpful. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. And it was great that it helped you. Now you've moved some of the expectations and some of that restriction off of you, and you're going forward. And I think, you know, going back to the practical ways, it's like, how can we, going forward, like you were saying, which I really loved, about looking at the stuff while it's going well. And I do think a little bit in relationships, it's communication, isn't it? It's all about communication. So do you wait till, you're ready to blow your top? That's the top and bottom of it, isn't it? Do we say something in a nice and controlled way where we're in control of ourselves and we can say it in a tactful and well-contained space that's appropriate, rather than getting to the point where we're just like...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure someone could say that. I can't. I am a bit all over the place with my communication. I think I'm a very mixed bag when it comes to communication. The one credit I do give myself is that I am always truthful and transparent. So like, whatever is going on within me is what you see on the outside. And whatever you see on the outside is what's going on within me. So that way, Sannah never needs to guess. So that is the one thing. Everything else that I hear from in terms of relationship advice doesn't necessarily, or communication advice, I can't stand by because I don't live that. I am I don't know. I'm truthful and transparent. I try to be I strive for being constructive, but I am not always.
No, but like the truthful and transparency is so important. So
Seriously.
yeah, it is like a pillar.
Yeah.
So and because of that pillar being there, I can handle a lot actually.
Yeah.
And I can actually appreciate when Soorena is just calling me out on the bullshit I
lovingly. But
lovingly, yes, I'm sure.
Well, and it's and sometimes it's like super challenging and it's harsh, or like I need to like put in a lot of work to even understand what is actually happening. So I need to sometimes ask a lot of questions. Can you go back? Can you slow down? What do you actually mean by this? Because he's a fast thinker. But like I'm with you because I like the challenges.
Right.
Like even like also like when you do mushrooms, it is a challenge. It's not like easy getting high on something. It's not. It's like meeting parts of yourself you tucked away nicely to not meet, and then you do. So and somewhere somehow I like that. So maybe I'm sort of a masochist, but it's a thing that I highly appreciate about you, Soorena.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't ever aim to be hurtful, to be clear. It's just like I think Sannah is probably the top person in terms of like the least filtered that I am, and like the more the way that I talk to myself is how I talk to her, and I'm not always polite with my own self. So, but I am truthful with my own self. So like she gets that. So it's very, very raw and honest.
So what I would probably suggest is, rather than looking externally, aim to be a bit more kind to yourself.
Yes.
In the way that you speak. We mean you're not saying anything you don't know, but when you start to do it to yourself, it will naturally just emanate out into the relationships around you. Because I've had to do that as well. Because I used to have a horrible self-talk problem. I used to say really, really, really awful things to myself, and we're literally we're speaking like you were saying, like the architect. We're good sparks. We're speaking our way out into existence, and our subconscious is listening.
Yes.
So the nasty things that we're saying, we're seeding into that. So it's even if we think we've failed, and I don't agree with failure. I don't think we ever fail. I think we just find ways to not do things the same again. That's how I frame that now, because I think the word failure is just it's not real, because everything's happened because it was meant to happen in that way, to show us something or to learn or help us evolve or grow, like you were saying, Sannah. It isn't masochism, it's a need to grow and evolve.
Right.
And that's beautiful, because we don't want to stagnate, do we? And if you're happy in the safety of the normal and the known, you're never going to grow. you know. So we push ourselves forward because we want the best relationships and the best life and all the rest of it. But you don't get that by staying still and not challenging yourself. And yeah, kind of going on to the point about the mushrooms, I think it's not pleasant when you go in and you're faced with your own mirror and you can't escape it. I think that's the thing. So when I've had my own experiences with mushrooms, I actually don't like the not being in control aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been in control up until I accidentally took 4.5 grams of mushrooms.
What do you mean by accident?
Yes.
What, sorry?
What do you mean by accident?
I weighed it. I was kind of eyeballing it. So I forgot my scales without saying too much. And I took the remaining dose and then I calculated it in my head and then I was like, oh fuck.
Understood. Thank you.
I've taken too much. And then it was too late because I'd eaten them.
So it seems like subconsciously you kind of wanted to be in for an adventure.
Yeah, the problem was I can't really say much in here, but I didn't take them alone. I take them with another substance.
Okay.
Planned, which I'd done before.
Understood.
But it heightened the
Yes.
It does.
the psychoactive effects, we'll say.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I wasn't angry about it. I was just like, well, let's just see what happens. It was meant to happen for a reason. Again, wasn't a failure.
No,
but yeah,
it's quite the adventure. That's what that is.
Yeah, it was an adventure. It was definitely an adventure. I mean, I had some beautiful. The thing is, because it completely dilates time, doesn't it? So you've got no kind of concept of what's going on. But when you take them with people, I'm very sociable for about an hour, and then I'm like, you can't talk to me now for an hour and a half. You need to just leave me alone. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to go inside. Hi, Raquel. Yeah. So, yeah. So,
Truth 17. Yeah. Rock that truth indeed.
yeah, she's cool as Raquel.
Yeah.
She's a real earth-like
She is.
angel. I love her.
Really?
Yeah. So the thing is with the
Yeah.
mushrooms, from my own experience, like I said, because I've done a lot of work, and I have a lot of like kind of we'll call it altered states anyway. So that was I don't like actually being high. I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive because some people really enjoy getting high, don't they? I don't like the feeling of being high and out of control. And I've really had to work at releasing that like control element to get the most out of them, because that's what they forced me to do. And I think that's kind of what happened with the 4.5 grams. It was like, right, okay. I had a goddess experience basically where I was absorbed into the goddess. And that was beautiful, but the bit that came after wasn't very nice. I was confronted by lots of not good patterns. But anyway, go on, Kirsten. I'm waffling on.
I love your waffles, Sam. But I wanted to say, I'd like to kind of drive it back because we're kind of talking about working through discomfort, navigating relationships. And it really seems like the same thing like navigating a mushroom trip. So can you guys expound on what the discomfort actually does to us when we sit with it, and what the benefit of that is?
Good question. I know in education you have like desirable difficulties.
Oh.
And that's that you learn better by putting a lot of effort in a thing. Like there's they call it the retrieval practice or test effect, that you retrieve things from your memory without like rereading stuff or looking things up, but just from your own brain. And then because of that effort you put in of retrieving, you actually like engrave it in your pathways are like highways because of the retrieval aspect of it. So that's what comes up for me. But being able to be very uncomfortable, I think it's sort of that you create new pathways to solve problems or deal with what is present in another way than you're used to. So you're not taking your own highways, but you're working through unknowns, and those unknowns help you open up new pathways to deal with life. And I think for me, that is, yeah, it's challenging, but it's also a super nice and adventurous, actually.
Yeah. For me, it comes down to alignment. So the alignment of your spirit in the present moment. When we have that alignment, it feels very fulfilling. And the same thing that we call discomfort, we call exhilaration. You're like, wow, like no one ever says when they're, in the midst of a roller coaster going, from the peak down, and you feel like you're flying. No one ever says like, oh, I feel so comfortable right now. It's like, well, no, you're not. You're experiencing exhilaration, and it's super exciting. You're flying. Thing is, if it's a well-made roller coaster and things are aligned, you feel safe and you feel like you're supported and you're in for the ride. And when you're the way you're oriented in the present moment, and that includes not just how you are with the external world, that is a thing, but also how you are with the internal world of your thoughts and emotions and the depths that are there. When you're oriented with all of that in a way that's aligned from the inside out, spirit embodied, that is going to feel like exhilaration. The discomfort part is necessary, in a sense. Allowing for yourself to be experiencing discomfort is necessary, because that's when you're allowing yourself to discover where things are not already aligned. And in a way, you only have like two choices. If things are not aligned, your choice is not to align it or not. That comes later. Your first choice is, do you want to become aware that it's not aligned or not? So if you have the courage and the capacity to let yourself experience discomfort, you're actually getting to feel that awareness of things not being aligned. And that's the foundational first step towards being like, all right, so what do we got? And what would alignment even look and feel like in relation to all of this right now? So, and then
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I love it because it reminds me of the yoga practice. I teach yoga and I practice yoga very deeply. And one of the first things I learned when I was practicing yoga is sitting with my discomfort, my physical discomfort. I'm putting myself in a pose that's wrenching my body into a new alignment. And rather than going, oh my gosh, that doesn't feel good, I've got to stop, I learned to lean into that and breathe into it and actually find the alignment. And that is really such a gift. And I think, we can liken that to any experience. But I would suggest to people too, if you want to learn how to do this easily, do some yoga because it will bring you into that discomfort in a very gentle way. And you can learn to breathe through it. And then you can go for something a bit more challenging, perhaps, like, 4 grams of mushrooms or anything. But you can go for something a bit more challenging. And you already have that skill of saying, okay, I know where I am. I'm in this place of discomfort. And now I need to breathe and just see what it's teaching me. And so I love that. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, though, I know with mushroom trips, I used to be the person who would have to sit with the people who were having freakouts. I don't know why. And I kind of learned to say, well, just I don't even know how to tell them, but just stop and breathe, and just, it's okay. We're just going to breathe through this. Do you have any tips on that, Soorena? Because I know you babysit people all the time for this, so maybe you have some tips on breathing through discomfort.
There are many different ways to breathe. I like the very simple approach of in slowly through the nose. So, and we have a lot more capacity than we often use in our lungs. So try to use up as much as you have. That's great. And then instead of like pushing the air out, let the if you open up your mouth passageway, the air will want to come out because you've kind of expanded the balloon, and then the balloon will want to close itself. So then the air will come out, and then repeat that cycle. Physically, that's sort of what you're aiming for. If you can like align your spine, that's great. If you're lying down, your spine is already kind of aligned. And then psychologically, so that's what we do with our bodies. Psychologically, what's helpful to do is be the, as Samantha was saying earlier, be the witness. So you are going to have a lot of thoughts flow through. You're going to have a lot of feelings flow through you. Maybe visuals, visions, maybe sensations in the body. All of these things are kind of like data flowing through you. What you want to do is just be like, oh, okay, cool. This is what I'm experiencing. Cool. This is what I'm experiencing. And then if there's a meta layer of judgments on what you're experiencing, be like, oh, interesting. I observe that I'm having these judgments on what I'm experiencing. So go as many layers back as you need to. If you have judgments on having judgments, go back one more layer. Like, I see that I have judgments on having judgments. So eventually you want to get to a point where you can literally just breathe with your experience, no matter what it is, because oftentimes we stop breathing because we've gotten attached in a way to something we're experiencing to the point where we forgot to simply breathe.
That is beautifully put. I love that. Yeah, and again, taking it back to yoga, it's the same thing, and breathing through all of those layers. I love how you put that, because we have all of these layers, like oh, I don't like this, I feel uncomfortable. Oh, why don't I like this? Because I'm judging that I don't like to feel this way. Well, what is the judgment coming from? And following it back and finding the place where, as you said earlier, where it's okay. And maybe it's not great, but it's okay. We can do this. So I love that. It's perfect.
Yeah, I think of myself as like a note taker in terms of like my inner role, and like people call it the observer. I don't know how to relate to that as like a human, but I know note taking, from like my experience in school and like being a student. So I think of myself as a note taker internally. I'm like, oh, I'm just noting what there is. So that's like different than being someone who's judging a thought as good or bad. I'm like, oh, I'm just noting I had this, I had that feeling, I had that impulse. And then if you're ever like trip sitting for someone else, that's also a great foundation to have. So when someone else is having an experience, instead of judging it as good or bad, you're more so just noting that, oh, they're having this experience, and you're introducing that breath, that groundedness that is able to breathe with whatever is happening to their experience, and that helps them lean on you in that way, to have that as like a background vibe in a sense.
Perfectly put.
Yeah. I do just want to take a bit of a sojourn. So you'd made a little bit of, we made a tweet earlier, and it was about solving commitment issues. And I wondered if you could dig into that, because it was such an interesting tweet. I loved how you've broken it down. So you mentioned like intensity, frequency, and interconnectivity.
Yeah, for sure. So in my life, I've often thought to myself that I don't necessarily have a great many like natural skill sets or abilities, but I have found that I can commit to things, and that also includes committing to things I probably shouldn't have committed to. But like even with the story I was saying earlier of like the path of making a chart with progressively increasing my dosage with mushrooms, it's like, well, that's a committed path over years that I set out for myself. So I was like, all right, cool. I know how to commit, and I know that sometimes that's a challenge for some people. And I've also had my own commitment issues in different parts of life, in different things. And I was thinking about like, what is commitment literally? So I saw that it has like a trinity of facets. And what do you think of it, by the way?
But you committing,
Yeah.
that's very true. It's like a nice insight, actually.
Yeah, like in terms of like how I also
Like
show
you
up in our.
double down. Yeah, you double down on things. You also don't let things slip away.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's a real thing.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't like shove things under the rug or
Yes.
something.
Yes, exactly.
If
Or
something
nor
comes
walk
up,
away.
yeah, no,
Yeah. So like
it's
if
you're
something,
committed.
yes, exactly. If something's very uncomfortable, I'm like, fuck it, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, but
So
go.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
what I've seen is that there's a trinity. There's three facets to commitment. The first one that I think we most often think of as commitment is intensity. It's like, I'm here. So my mind is here, my heart is here, my body's here. So that's a very important part, and you can have different parts of it not there or less there, and so all of these things are spectrums. So intensity is one. Intensity of presence, basically. The second one is frequency, or a more fun way of saying it is circle back ability. So it's like, how often do you circle back? Because it's not about just being there in that moment. It's like the sustainability is a thing. Like sustained commitment really matters. So sometimes we can't solve a thing, for example, or sometimes I can't learn a thing in one go. I need to circle back. Or we can't develop a thing in one go, and you need to circle back. So commitment is also measured by how often do you circle back, how well do you circle back, and that's also like a big part of like when people say they have commitment issues. I'm like, are you just not circling back? Is that what you're saying? Like, and also like a very common thing that basically everyone now, including myself, will say, I have ADHD. It's like, do you just mean you need to circle back more often? It's like, yeah. Okay, cool. Then just circle back. Like it's, like I use apps, an app now for myself. A great one. It's called Chaos Control. If anyone wants to look it up, it's a great one.
Oh, I'll check it out.
Yeah, for sure. It's basically like a streamlined to-do list. Very useful for someone like myself who needs a reminder to what to circle back to. And then the last one is interconnectivity, which is the integrating the thing that you want to commit to with everything else that you're committed to. Because if you sort of keep things separate, it makes it harder to sort of circle back to it and be present with it. But if something is like internal and integrated, it's a lot easier. Like a kind of a crazy example would be sort of like having a marriage versus an affair. A marriage in an ideal world is the one that's integrated, right? And it's like easier to commit to. An affair is like, ooh, you got to like keep it separate from the rest of it. It's like harder to commit to that. If you just integrate it and then just bring
in the affair.
Bring in the affair, include it within the marriage. No. It's a lot easier.
You know what? I'm having an affair with housework. Yeah.
Are you trying to make housework feel more exciting? Is that what you're trying to do?
I don't know. I'm just trying it out. I'm not committed. I'm not fully committed to it. That's the problem. It's on the outskirts.
It's isolated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring it in.
Exactly.
Bring it in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. I need to put a ring on it. That's what I need to do.
If you want, be aware of what you're committing to. Yeah. So
I mean, I've got a friend washing up probably. I've got a friend who does. She's very tantric and she's into kind of like dumb sub dynamics and all that kind of stuff. But she talks about when she's cleaning, she flirts with the house. And it's like bringing in that really nice kind of like sexual energy and like making it fun. So there's different ways of doing it. But I love what you were talking about, the interconnectivity stuff, because like what?
No, it's because I used the example of marriage and affair that then your mind went there. So I'm having.
Right, okay.
It's nice.
It didn't take much to get my mind to go there.
No, of course not. No, that's how we.
Easily influenced.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, going back to the ADHD thing, that's really interesting. Because I'm on a bit of a healing thing with that. Because I'm like, have I actually got ADHD? Is it just trauma response? Is it extreme sensitivity? Is it that I'm just maladapted to living in society? You know, and I'm really trying to figure out what to do with that. So there's a lot of like coping strategies and things you can do. And we were talking about this interconnectivity idea, because my problem is I'll start something and I'll go, oh, well, this relates to this, so I'm going to go upstairs to get something else, and I'll get distracted, and then I'll start doing that, and then before you know it, you're doing like 6 jobs at once that are just all around the house, and you're like, motherfucker, shit, which do I do now? You know? And it's like, and I'm like, I'm just going to have a cup of tea. Do none of them. That's kind of what happens. But my friend was saying that because she's got ADHD, it's something called doubling. So you can pair tasks. It's almost, because I don't like routine. She didn't like routine. It's a bit boring, isn't it? But really what we need is some kind of structure. So rather than saying you've got to do this at the exact time every day, it's saying, well, this kind of pairs with this. So I don't know, when you're washing up and then putting the dishes away, for instance, or eating your breakfast and then doing the washing up, you know, just as a vague example. But you're pairing it up and you're saying, well, when I do this, I do the other, and you're kind of like creating that pathway that you do one and then the other. Because I'm kind of like a bit autistic as well. So when I do things, I like build up this this profile of how things should be. So have you got any other like tips like that you think would help people that have got ADHD or perceived ADHD?
I was just, when you were saying that, I was remembering how earlier today, apparently, Sannah witnessed me do this. I went to our backyard door, I opened it, I looked out, and then suddenly some idea went through my head. I turned around without closing the door, and I walked in the other direction, never came back to.
And leave the other door open as well.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
hallway door.
Yeah, so,
I was sitting here getting cold, and I thought, what is happening right now?
yeah, so definitely not going to help with eliminating that. But I will say another app that I do use, I think it's called Brain Focus or something. It's like a nice, let me find it, but it's like non-lyrical music that repeats, but it's like a little bit weird, that it's not an exact repetition. That often helps me stay in a focused flow, but apparently sometimes also leave doors open. So there's that.
Is it kind of like binaural beats? Because you do that, because it like syncs the hemispheres of your brain. There's different frequencies, isn't there, that put you into different states of consciousness.
I've used those a lot as well. Yeah, those can be very, very helpful as well.
I have a thing, like for me, I always compare things with like making art and doing chores or things in the house. For me, it's first like chaotic, and then I'll close. So when I paint, this is a long time ago that I actually made a painting, but like I derive from it still. But when I make a painting, I first create like a lot of chaos, and then you need to bring it together in kind of way. So the last layers you do is actually painting it together. So that's what I do. So I work on 6 things at the same time, and I'm going back and forth through the house. And for me, I end up closing all loops at some point throughout the day or throughout the time I have for the tasks. So I am able now, and this is I don't know how I got there, but apparently I have that. I am able now to close the loops, and that is so satisfying. So it's amazing. So I'm not keeping to one task. No, I'm doing all the 6 things, and I'm going through the laundry and to the stock drawer and then to the bathroom and like everything, and like sweeping and doing all the stuff at the same time. So it's a chaos everywhere, but then I close it all, and then it's so awesome because it's rewarding because you did 6 things. And sometimes that's like with us neurodivergent people, we can do like a lot then in the same time that other people do 1 task. I can do 6. So it's a superpower.
It's getting to that state there, because some days, like, I used to go to my friend's house that she'd got like 3 kids, and they didn't have any kids at this point, and I'd go over and her house would just be absolute pandemonium. And I'd go and I'd be like, she'd be like, Sam, I need you to help me. I'm doing dinner, and like my husband's coming home soon and he's going to be really angry. I've done nothing all day, like play with the kids. I'm like, okay. And I'd completely clean the house in about 35 minutes and sort kids out and do this, because I could like, which is ridiculous. I can like totally hyper focus and stuff. But then when it's my own stuff, I'm just like, just going to sit at my kitchen table with this cup of tea and think about what I'm going to do. And then I'm like, oh shit, an hour and a half's gone by and I could have done loads of stuff in that time. You know? It's like getting the actual momentum going to move. But I think that's a dopamine thing. Because they were saying that people with ADHD, because I'm not completely convinced it is ADHD, but whatever. But people with ADHD apparently have this dopamine issue where they need the dopamine to actually get them engaged. And I think you can have these like resistance to doing certain things, because it's weird how it's like we build up these psychological like barriers of doing stuff.
Yeah.
And like the reward system isn't there to make us go and do it, basically. It's almost like, because it's for us, the reward isn't there. But if it was for somebody else, there's a different kind of like part of your brain lighting up. I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I know it's super true for me. I have found that it's actually something that you're saying it I want to do more often, more consciously. But when I tie it to some sort of a social contribution, I kick into gear literally as if I'm not there at all, and then I'm there. So even if there is a series of things I need to chain together in my head, as to like, hey, I need to do these 5 things because it prepares me to do this one thing there, I will actually do it with that intensity that, you know, you were describing with cleaning the house. But if I don't tie it to that last thing, that is the, like, what difference will it make in what I am doing with other people? It's hard for me to actually get excited.
Motivated.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. So I think I'm very socially driven, and like accepting that and working with that, I think, is a part of a solution for me. Yeah.
So what you need to do is you need to go, I need to do this because Sannah's really going to love me if I do it.
That's true, actually. There are times when literally, like, she's not in the house, and then because I know she'll be back at a certain time, I have, like, it gets gamified for me. I'm like, all right, so I got this amount of time, because I'm literally just excited for that moment to see her face. Be like, whoa, that literally that whoa moment is the.
That's so cute.
Yeah. It's a thing. It's a real thing. Yeah.
That is cute. That is really cute. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, relationship goals, guys. You know, really,
Yeah.
because it's communication, isn't it? And you can tell you both really love each other, and you're dedicated, and you really want the best for each other, and you want to give each other that safe space, which is what it's all about, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Sannah, before, I mean, we've been waffling on for a long time. I feel like we're chewing your leg off, really. But yeah, I want to talk a bit more about your art. I know we talked about it briefly, and you mentioned about how you pull your stuff together. What creative endeavors are you kind of doing for yourself now?
Yeah, so it's different because I don't see myself as a practicing artist right now, but still my creativity is in, like, sometimes only like drawing and making art with the kids, but also like designing. Oh, he's grabbing something. Like, we were looking for a house and a home for so long. So this is a thing I made, drawing of like finding our own place.
That's
And then
perfect.
first it was a small, we have a small, I made a small pencil drawing, and then Soorena loved it so much that he like framed it and hung it in our home. So then at some point I had like I got some felt tips pens, and then I tried to recreate it, and
That's lovely.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you've got that home now?
Beautiful.
Yeah, actually we do. Yeah, this is, and it's like it's so awesome because I was so worried and so lost because we were living in a house that was temporary. It's so fun what you're doing right now. Yeah. And it had an end date. So our rental contract had an end date, and then we would move out, and then we had not have a clue where to move into. So it was really challenging to find a place. The housing market is like, it's weird in Netherlands. I think in like a lot of places. And we actually found a new rental place by applying for a special sort of agreement and special thing, and we got it. So it was luck and help at the same time from organizations. So and it's so like things lined up so perfectly. It's like it's amazing, like the location, but also the timing of getting the key just while I was having a school holiday, so we could like work in the house. So the alignment of things were
the synchronicity on
beautiful.
So many different layers from so many different angles just really lined up for us.
Yeah. So we're living the dream actually now. We're living
yes
in this dream house.
Yeah.
Making
That's
it
beautiful. I mean, I need to be really careful because we had this one episode where I talked about the London housing market for 5 minutes when we first started one of our podcasts, and it was probably one of the lowest moments of my life. But do you know when you just can't stop yourself and you keep talking about it? Yeah, I was going into economics and stuff, and it was probably a bit boring to watch. I mean, I had a great time, but whatever. But yeah, like, you know, that's the thing. Like, it is the housing markets are so unstable everywhere. But so, do you feel like you've kind of found your base now? Like, is this it? Is this where you kind of are for now, and you don't have to rush off, and there's no end date, or?
Correct. No. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we can
so it's like a bit of a sigh of relief.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And it takes away that pressure, doesn't it?
Painting is a bit of a tool for creation. I'm sorry, Sam. I didn't mean to.
No, go on. Sorry, I've dominated the conversation. Let me go and go for it's me. My big chunks.
No, I was just going to say that. So that picture, it's like a manifestation exercise, really. I mean, ultimately, and I love how we can make art into that, and how art perpetuates more manifestation when you put your energy into that creativity, and it perpetuates it and brings it more into the physical 3D realm. I love that. And I love that you have that talent. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I'm getting very curious about your beautiful paintings behind you. What is that? Did you make that?
I made this one. This one, I don't really know. It was actually meant to be something different, and it came out this way. You know, when you were talking about chaos, like you start the painting, and I always I used to have a really specific thing in my mind when I painted, and now I just kind of make some chaos and see what it comes out as. And this took shape, and I really liked it. This one was actually given to me by one of my yoga students, and this was her portrait of me, with the owl and the pink and the purple. So it means a lot to me. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have the same kind, and I don't paint a lot. I'm mostly a writer, but every once in a while I just feel like painting, and so I do. And I do that same thing. I just put a bunch of paint on there, and then I say, what is this picture suggesting to me? And then I kind of bring it. So I loved your description of that.
Yeah, nice. You found out that that's actually how things work. You cannot think and then make. You need to work with the material and with the things that are actually happening in real time, and then responding to that. So it's its own thing, its own relationship you have with working with the material and working with the context that you're in at that moment. So awesome. Yeah, and I love it. It's intense painting, actually. And you clearly have something with owls. Your mug is also a beautiful owl.
I do. Yeah. It's one of my main spirit animals. Yes. Owl.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, they're very wise.
Yeah, have you seen the video of an owl flying with very sensitive microphones listening? Have you seen that one?
No.
Is it
cool. So they had, I think, 3 different birds: a seagull, a raven, and an owl. It was something like that. And you could see them fly, and then they would capture the sound they make as they fly. And the owl was the only one that we heard nothing. It was flying so perfectly, so aerodynamically that it wasn't creating any resistance that would create sound. And it was like, it's so like, actually from an engineering standpoint, it's like, how is it working that well with like the physics and nature of things to do that? It's worth looking up
It
and
was
watching.
it was unbelievable. You
Amazing.
thought they just muted the sound,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
because of the 3 and the 2 others, you hear flap, flap, and then the owl, and it's just, yeah, it's a weird experience. It was
Yeah, I could be misremembering elements of it, but the muting effect, very, very, very much real. And yeah, it's probably for good reason that we associate them symbolically with wisdom. There's a lot there with owls. They're like genuinely magical creatures.
They really
Yeah.
are. They really are. Yeah, I live in the woods and I have a lot of owls around me. I hear them all the time and I see them rather frequently, and they are magical. Every time I see them, no matter how many times I've seen them, it always feels like a supernatural experience when you see one, at least to me. And I do feel like they're not, I mean, I think they walk in 2 worlds the way that we do, you know. I mean, I guess everyone does, but yeah.
Yeah, they do. I mean, we've had a little. I once had this really weird experience with an owl as well. So I'd come out of a mediumship class and I was driving home, and I kind of knew something odd was going to happen because I get this kind of like sixth sense. And I was driving by this garden centre, and there was a bush, and above this bush there was this huge giant owl just like hovering, and it had like a spotlight over it, which is a bit strange. And I just remember looking at it thinking, wow, that's really, really cool. And then I had a little bit of missing time. And apparently, when you have kind of encounters with, I don't even know you'd say it, otherworldly beings will say, they can sometimes come, you get like a screen memory where it's like an owl. So I wondered if it was maybe that, or I'd actually seen an owl. I didn't know, but it was really etheric. I think I'm a bit.
Yeah.
I brought the weird a bit there, didn't I?
That's so unexpected.
Bit strange. Yeah. I mean, Kirsten, is there anything else you want to ask?
No, I think I'm good. I'm enjoying this. I've learned so much today, and I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, you've got lovely energy. You really have.
A simple question for the both of you. The name of your podcast, Metaphysical Phat, PHAT. What's that part about?
So go on, Kirsten, I'll let you do it.
So when we first started doing spaces, and we would say, let's chew the fat. And then we were like, let's chew the metaphysical fat. We started just putting that. And the reason, because I changed it to PHAT, because I'm a word person, and metaphysical, like the PH in metaphysical is the F sound. So then I wrote it that way just because I liked it, because it had the PH. But
Yeah.
but then there is a slang term, fat, isn't there? And I'm not really sure what all that means, but I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, it's like an Americanism, isn't it? Where they go, oh, that's so fat, but it's spelled PH. Like,
yeah,
cool.
and it's like cool. Yeah, it's like something cool. So
that's certainly the vibe.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just about chewing the fat, because when we did the podcast, like Kirsten said, we started out with spaces, but they banned you, didn't they? We had a little
almost immediately. I was not allowed to do spaces for quite a while. I don't know.
You do quite a lot of spaces, don't you, Soorena? I've seen you floating around.
Yeah, definitely. I've been having fun in people's spaces. I've helped co-host some. There's a friend of mine, Suavecito. He hosts these philosophy style spaces where it's he'll ask a question, like he held one about the nature of time recently. There was
Oh.
one about the concept of nothingness. Uh,
Hmm.
those have been fun, and people come from their own angles, and that's very lovely about X Spaces, because you get to encounter so many different angles and have them interact, and it's been very, very fun.
That's awesome. I love that. What was it? So what came of the concept of nothingness then? What did you dig into with that? What did you manage to find out?
Oh my goodness, so many different things. Some people had trouble thinking of nothingness as a concept. That was interesting. I remember for some reason we started talking about perception and the mind. That was an element. I remember I mentioned how in the history of mathematics, the number zero actually came last in terms of our invention of zero. So we had a lot of numbers in mathematics already. Creating the number zero, like even conceptually, was quite a revolutionary idea. And then there was the element of like what was there before the Big Bang. So looking at it more from a physics standpoint, if there is nothing, is there time? Is there space? If there is no space, what is there? What is nothing? And then there was an element of which comes first. Is consciousness an emergent property of matter? Right, that's the classical science, or is it around where the matter physical world is a emergent property of consciousness, which is the base. So a lot of different angles, and at the end of it, I suppose nothing came out of it. But
which is exactly what you wanted, yeah.
Exactly. So, but it kind of felt like the state and where we were at as a group elevated through the conversation, and
Yeah.
people were just more interconnected, which was very nice. Yeah.
I mean, that's great, isn't it, when you can get people to bounce those ideas off? Because it sounds like you've really done like a full spectrum, like, you know, you looked at it from like the mathematical point, you know, the ontological aspects of it. I really like that idea of kind of what came first, matter or consciousness. And I think when you look at a lot of the physics and a lot of like the quantum physics and things that are going on now, you look at people like Bruce Lipton, you look at people like Rupert Sheldrake and other like kind of leading pioneers in that kind of scientific field, and even like people that are kind of working within the area of psychedelics, because that kind of opens the doors of perception, doesn't it? To quote Aldous Huxley's book. But you know, there's a guy called I forgot his name now. He's released it. I've watched the podcast recently. It's called Death by Astonishment, and he does a bit of a retrospective on a lot of different writers and his own kind of takes on DMT. And he kind of is digging into this bit now in this book about what came first, you know, consciousness or matter. And he's kind of supposing that consciousness is all, you know, it transcends matter, it transcends space and time, and then it's matter is the condense, you know, we condense down into physical matter. And he kind of looks at how do we perceive reality, basically, because when you're taking psychedelics and things, it really you start to question what is reality, and you think, you know, is a trip real? I've never had DMT, obviously, but it's more from what I've read. But this is where I'm kind of leading up to, like you were talking about your steps of mushroom dosage. I'm kind of leading up to going to DMT, really, and then maybe 5-MeO after that, because it's my own kind of progression into that. But when I've looked into the different kind of effects of it, they've all got their own spirit as well, and the experience that people have, they are all very different, but there's also themes. And the thing with the DMT, or the spirit of the DMT, when you have like a breakthrough dose, apparently it actually, you're not even high. You're going through in your consciousness is you're still lucid. It's not like when you have the mushrooms and you kind of like, you are kind of high when you're on mushrooms, like, let's be honest. Your vision goes and you're a bit like, if you try and look at your phone or whatever and there's the lights and you feel like you're in an altered state of consciousness basically. But apparently when you have a breakthrough dose of DMT, you're still lucid in your mind, but you're not in ordinary reality, essentially. And you're seeing things as though it's very real. The question that it was kind of posing is, what is reality, really? You know, when you talk about what came first, matter or consciousness, well, what is matter? How are we perceiving it, you know? It's the lens that we're looking through. I think that's a really good way to kind of look at it. I mean, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Well, you go.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of experiences with it, and at the same time, whenever these things come up, I always wonder, like, what would be of actual value for the person who's on the receiving side, and including your own self. So, again, the practical love is sort of where I keep coming back to. That, all right, let's say the matter is the base reality, consciousness emerges from there. It's like, all right, then the question becomes, how can you have a conscious experience of matter in a way that you prefer? And we land back on practical love. And let's say it's the other way around, that consciousness is the base, and that we are this eternal being that is exploring its infinite nature through infinite angles, a subset of which are physical condensations of that consciousness in the particular forms that associate themselves with a finite amount of time in human form. Okay, sure. Let's say it's that one. Awfully specific of me, but nonetheless. What do we want then? Like, well, you want to have a practically loving experience of that time, or whatever, as close as you can get to that, as sustainably as you can get to that. So for me, it's less of a question of which one is the philosophically accurate one or the correct one, and more so like practically, for the time that you are here, however long that is, how can you make it as practically loving one as you can?
Yeah, like how is it going to serve you, basically?
Yeah, exactly. And whichever one it is, bring your awareness to it, bring your presence to it. I have found, like, being truthful is a great one, no matter where you're at. Being loving to the best of your ability, and being engaged and present. Like, you really need those three pillars. If I ever had my own holy trinity, those would be it. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, Kirsten, do you get any thoughts on that?
Yes.
Kirsten.
Oh, Sannah, both of you. I'm just going to have to pop a bit. My doggy, I am listening. My doggy's being a bit naughty, but yeah, both of you, please do share, because it's such a big topic.
Yes. Sannah, please go on.
Put in a hot seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, what the picture is that what you said also, like, that is like a creation that created things in reality, and I really resonate with that. That you you reach out to a thing and move in a direction. I really love that view on things, because it's such a positively driven thing that you then can reach out to whatever positive and beautiful thing you can reach out to, and then you can start to create it, and then the universe has your back. So I love that thought, and that's where I'm at.
I do too. I love that thought, and I really think, I really think that consciousness and love are our creation. I think that's what drives everything. And it's interesting. I mean, thinking about which came first, matter or consciousness, I would tend to go with consciousness. However, maybe they came together. I don't know. I mean, it's so. And I mean, I guess the big answer for me is always, I don't really know. I have my theories about things, but I really feel like the way that that creativity is really the key, creativity and love. I mean, because I really think that in some sense, creativity and love are one and the same. You know, I love, you know, when I'm being creative, really it's love flowing through me all the time. And I think when we're tapping into that, because I also feel like it comes from, I want to say a higher source. I don't mean higher in terms of hierarchy, but just, you know, I feel like when we really open ourselves up to become creative, that something bigger than our small selves flows through us and helps to sort of bring so much more into this existence than we can experience when we're in that little small box of my ego, my small self. So I think part of it for me is opening up to that and saying, come through me, and let's see what we can create. I can be the conduit for that, the conduit for something bigger to come through. And I find that when I try to control it, and we've talked about control today, when you try to control it, you don't get as good a result. Like Sannah, when you were talking about painting, and you put a bunch of chaos on there, and then you're like, what does this suggest? Let's make it into something. And I really feel like that's a really good key to living life too, because when we're always trying to make it into what our idea of it should be, what our idea of what it should be, we're actually limiting what could actually be. And a lot of times what could actually be is so much more than we could have imagined. And I've seen that in my own life. I've said, oh, I want this. And then when it comes through, it's like, well, it's not exactly that, but actually it's much better than that. So I think, yeah, walking that line, and yeah.
Yeah, it's
Sam?
beautiful. It's like working with what is available at that time, and then just working with that flow. So yeah, nice. Well said, Kirsten.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. So we're kind of coming up to 2 hours. Is there anything else you guys want to share with us before we kind of start to wrap things up a little bit?
I'll just say that I am very active on X, and I love engaging with people. So if anyone wants to say hi or explore anything with me, I would love that. I do tend to be quite passionate in my and honest in my exploration. So only come if you're looking for a truthful interaction is what
Buckle
I'll say.
up.
Yeah, and it's usually fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes we do, and more we do things together, which is
Yes.
super fun when Sannah can join, and it's very, very lovely.
Cutie.
Yeah.
I should join more. I will. Like, yeah, I will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's I think
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah.
So
This was
Yeah,
really fun.
Super
you're very
fun.
good. You're very good on X, and Sannah's just an absolute delight. You just it's the sweetest woman I've ever met on stage. you're like sunshine. It's lovely talking to you.
Oh, too cute.
Yes.
Well, Samantha, she's mine. So please, I just.
Okay. I'm sad, but okay.
Oh God. Yeah, that's you. You're awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Super fun to be with both of you.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you so much for coming.
Also,
God, sorry.
yeah,
Yes.
I'm grateful for both of you for the questions you ask and the things you reflect back. It's we're having such an awesome time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because you're awesome
Yeah,
people.
likewise. Yes. We're so grateful that you joined us today, and hopefully we'll do it again, because I think I really
Nice.
enjoyed this a lot.
That'd
Yeah.
be super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple more fun trip stories up my sleeve. So
I mean, yeah, it's anything. There's nothing off the table. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
do you want to tell us where to find what your channel is on YouTube one last time? Any other links in the description or anything that you want popping in?
the best place would be to find me on X, actually. So it's x.com / my first name and last name, Soorena Sediri. That's it. Good luck with spelling both of those.
Yes. we will. Yeah, we
Yeah,
will send
but-
links.
yeah,
and then also
You're on X.
I'm on X, and
yes.
also via X you can find other things.
Yeah,
Us.
yeah.
Do you have an Etsy account or anything, Sannah?
No, I have not. I
That'd be
sort
fun.
of held back on because I'm so into the teaching role that I don't do active art anymore. But yeah, I have things and I've made things, so I could put things up. Yeah.
It was a bit of a psychic nudge. So I'm just going to leave that with you to have a think about that. But yeah, Kirsten, any last thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody?
No, I just want to say I'm really grateful that you joined us, and I'm grateful to all of our listeners out there. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah,
we love you all. If you guys could just stay for a little bit when we finish, have a little quick debrief afterwards. Tell you how much we love you a bit more, because that's what we do. So thank you everybody for coming and tuning in. We'll catch you next time and catch you on the flip side.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.